Mr. S.'s House Guest by Savanna Uland. It was midnight at the diner. Inside, a rough man in a leather vest sat across from a young blonde with a long braid. Rain smeared down from the windows beside them. A field of syrup bottles and empty plates littered the table between them. A big stack of motorcycle helmets and leather vests sat crumpled in the corner. Luke S. was a retired Special Forces team sergeant with more than one classified commendation. All he really knew about the blonde was he liked her. She was beautiful, but also her inner person seemed so shiny to him. That's what rattled his cage. He didn't want this night to end, but by this point, in their first date, he also had suspected it was time to share his ulterior motives with her. She was the sort of warrior who could succeed where all others had failed. The sort who could tip the scales at last in his prolonged conflict with the entities haunting his house. Trained and decorated though he was, Mr. S. simply did not possess the proper weaponry for this particular war. Neither have any of the other dozens of exorcists, witches, or Wiccans in the last 10 or so years earlier. But Mr. S. had a feeling impressed upon him by the shiny quality of her spirit. That person across the table had the right tools for the job indeed. Maybe Hannah, his adult kid, had been right to make them meet. The pair had a brief scuffle over the bill. Then the 40-something and the gal in the college hoodie trooped out. He stood beside her in the wet parking lot as she fiddled with the helmet. Just before she pushed it over her ears for her ride home, his resolve hardened. He pulled a lopsided grin and said, "I have to ask you a favor." "Yes?" She looked him over, from his steel-toed boots to the worry lines around his cornflower blue eyes. "Go ahead," she assured him brightly. "Remember, I'm here to build my experience as a counselor." "The counseling stuff is just to appease my daughter." She planted her feet stoutly. "Yes, your daughter won't talk to you again unless you get some help. But," she parroted, "you can't have mental health problems on your medical record. Thus you agreed to talk to someone unlicensed." Now she was the one with the lopsided grin. She understood the score, but her tone changed back to bright. "And that's me, your new off-the-record life coach." She stopped fiddling with the helmet. "If you open up, you'll help me figure out my career." Mr. S. rejected her smile. He tapped the temple of his head with the calloused, oil-rimmed finger. "This is not my problem." She blinked. Rain washed her smile away. It ran down the helmet in her hands and rushed between her fingers. "Okay." "I have an issue going on at my house," he said. "Well, what sort of issue?" Unblinkingly, he spoke his truth. "I think there are demons there." Think? Mr. S. knew, but he had to ease this in somehow. That won the prize for the most awkward invitation home she had ever received. "Well, what's going on at your house?" "I may be crazy, but I just want to see what you think. Please, will you come take a look around?" She frowned. Where was this coming from? She decided to humor him kindly and honestly. "I mentioned I have some Wiccan friends, but I'm not trained in anything like exorcisms or things like that. If there were real demons, and if demons were real, he ought to know that she was no expert. She was just a girl in the city more open to witchy things than her parents' generation. Like any girl in the city these days. If you would come take a look and just tell me what you think." Oh boy. If the haunting was true, she should be unnerved. If it wasn't true, this was how to end up at his house instead of hers after just one date. "Meeting," she corrected mentally. She wasn't so sure about him as a suitor yet. Though he was squirrely, she respected his accomplishments in life, so far as she knew them. Despite his sniper's gaze, he seemed kind. Furthermore, the motorcycle ride earlier was great fun. She had felt wild and happy for the first time in a long time. Lines had gotten blurred. Where should this go? She was quietly positive that he had PTSD. She'd known someone quite well who passed on now, not too long ago, with that tragic mental blow. She didn't relish the idea of knowing a man like that intimately again. On the other hand, why not take a motorcycle ride to a trained killer's house after some tequila shots and midnight pancakes to give an opinion on resident demons? All right, if that'll help you, she said. Mr. S jumped with delight. They saddled up and rode out. The tiny guardian bell attached to the motorcycle twinkled in the roar. As long as it were there, no demons could dog them. The Demon. I, Svelik, the most ancient of the housemates, stand watching from the edges of the garage. The human roommate and his guest approach our dwelling aboard his noisy abomination of a vehicle. Potato, potato, potato goes the engine. Indeed, my skin crawls with premonition. Someone powerful must be on the back of that motorbike. Will his guest be able to see me? When humans can see me, they see a man with Egyptian coal-lined eyes, wearing a classic English suit. Souvenirs from some of my most formative haunts. I will be right here in the garage, plain as day, in suit and tie when the door rolls up. That way I'll know right away if Mr. S.'s house guest has the sight. The motorbike gets louder and louder. The metallic roll of the garage door begins. The headlight is blinding, but I do not squint. For a long second the engine noise booms and echoes in the concrete chamber. He parks. The screeching ting of the guardian bell falls still. Blessed relief. With it silent, I could advance closer now. But there is no need. She will see me, or she won't. The headlight goes out, the engine ceases, and the guest on the back takes off her helmet. She looks right through me. Ha! My skin won't stop prickling, though. My young friend Herblet, something of a son to me, stands by, wringing his talons. Zim, the djinn, lies out in a mist under the human's feet on the cold floor. I describe Zim as a mist to help you picture him, human. It is the thing that your sense of Zim's form would most likely remind you of if you were here and able to tune into him, as we say. The mademoiselle sees none of us, but Mr. S. is easily aware of Zim's misty lurking underfoot, of Herblet, of me. Mr. S. lives in the room upstairs, here at 1902 Travail Street. We have had many levels and rooms, yet, out of all the choices available, the human selects to sleep in the master's chamber. He would. And the man wonders why he has troubles. The sergeant lives among us, as one both hunting and hunted. He also spends his hours in various states of inebriation. Mr. S. hunches on the short concrete staircase to the door that will allow them into our inner sanctums. He turns and looks over his shoulder. "What is your worst fear?" he asks his guest, a pretty young thing. "Why would I tell you?" she answers coyly. This brings me to two wistful thoughts, shy of a smile. Her personality reminds me of someone from days gone by. No, I shan't think of Kiket. When I was young, a millennia ago, my fascination with humans flew unfettered. We all start that way about you fantastic creatures. But we quickly learn that we're nothing to you. And when one of you sees one of us, you react maliciously. Humans! They always want to end you, drive you out, or put you in a jar. You learn to hate them. I hope this does not offend you to explain. So the old devil, Mr. S., has asked his guest what her greatest fear is. Ancient as I am, a human's particular greatest fear is still interesting. Yet demonic interest in this individual peaked before she ever arrived to be piled about on our earshot. It's because she's a powerful thing. That much was plain, even as they roared up on the motorbike from miles and miles away. It was not only my skin that prickled. For example, Jim Jim the sprite sensed it. He usually enjoys harmless lunacy and keeps to himself, but when she crossed into our town, he and his kin lifted their pin-sized heads. "Someone is coming! I like her!" he lucidly exclaimed. Sprites are miniature flying demons, larger than flies, but not by much. Jim Jim and the others at this house are long leashed to the master's bed frame, and they serve his needs. Jim Jim flittered to the window at the time of the guest's approach, and as the rest followed. All abuzz with excitement they were. They tripped over the tangles in their leashes like a bunch of balloons, reaching for the open sky. Poor dears are nearsighted, though I am sure that they could only sense Mr. S.'s rider and not see who was on the motorcycle behind him several miles away. At the time, I did not bother to look out the window. Mr. S. and his companion would be here in our home soon enough. And here she is, a creature with an untrained sense for everything we are, bubbling out of her. Yet she won't see us. She isn't sure we even exist. She keeps quiet. So Mr. S. wields a guess at her greatest fear like a boy wields a poking stick. I would say it's death. He punches in the code to the inner door. The mammals move deeper into the house. I, Sphelic, trail mildly alongside them as he gives her a tour. They wander through the house. They bypass his many armaments strewn throughout, available for a moment's notice. He asked her questions thick with implications of sex and danger. She parries them all like a professional fencer. She asks him many questions of her own. Mr. S. comments on their quality. She tries to get him to name his intentions aloud. She pushes him to account for inconsistencies, to make him speak honestly and think. We in the house know that these are not his habits, to say the least. The man, as a rule, is agitated. How did these two meet? The tour continues. The lady becomes odder and odder creature in my estimation. She is reminding me again of Kiket, too powerfully. The memories whisk me away this time. I stand again behind the priestess I used to haunt in Egypt so long ago. In my mind, the scent of sand cooling in the night rises while the pyramids puncture the heavens above. Those priestesses were such majestic things. One in particular, the Lady Kiket. The memory of those coal-lined eyes, hers most luminous. In memory still, the priestess's beautiful gowns flutter under the desert moon. Kiket's figure was so breathtaking that it stood out even among her company. The priestesses would cast protective wards on the tombs to keep the likes of me out. But Kiket let me follow her around, nonetheless. Fox-like thing. She knew the others did not have the real sight. She was aware of my following, even that I was a bit in love with her. She seemed to understand me without fighting me. It was just like the way the American lady before me now senses us, but raises no hackles. Kiket had to keep me out of certain places, but she had no quarrel with my existence, my affections, or my impish curiosity. But unlike my priestess of old, our house guest has no proper personal wards and won't open her inner eye. Her heart has a shroud of energy up, that is all. She bows under the weight of her haphazard energy wall. It is presently hard at work repelling Mr. S. He desperately tries to focus on their conversation. As always, we distract him. The sprites strain at the end of their leashes just to reach out and push their pointed nails into the back of his neck. Zim squats on one of his boxes of bullets like a rain cloud. Mr. S. doesn't like his ammunition to get wet. Zim is foolish, of course, because Mr. S. cannot see anything he does, but his antics egg the others on. Our energy makes Mr. S. frantic. His hand is twitching, his foot is tapping, his neck is tensing. Those tiny nails can't feel good. His body language makes the guest as anxious as if he is an unstable bomb. How sad, how ironic. He gives the impression of a bomb as a symptom of trying so hard to be stable. But he is an unstable bomb, no two ways around it. Mr. S picks up a rifle laying on top the fridge. I like to walk around and do this at them, he says maniacally, his alcohol setting in. He pulls the charging handle back and allows the bolt to hit home hard on the empty rifle. Puts them on notice. He mimes around, hunting us, slamming the bolt on that gun again and again. Ah, how familiar all us non-humans in the house are with this crazy man. I've figured him out. The sound of the rifle is the best thing that Mr. S knows of. A game change, a difference, a solution, domination in his life. But we cannot be shot. Nevertheless, we hear the intent to subdue us and kick us out of his damned rifle clicking. We do not like it. He scares June, too. The little one never leaves her corner. However, she has had her other reasons. He lowers his rifle. Do you notice anything yet? Mr. S asks her. The guest sounds a drop amused. Not yet. Most humans cannot see us. Mr. S is one of them. But she could if she tried. My premonition feelings will not let up. Suddenly, I realize that the sight of the guest grips all the others too. Every slave in the house, all the fellow demonry are assembled and watching. Marvelous thing! If only she could see us, imp, ghoul, jinn, every stripe gathered into the room. What a sight it is! The way we crowd above, all around and below her in this dusty house. I haven't seen a soul this luminous in a millennia. It reminds me, for one, that famous Archangel Michael. Egyptian priestesses, archangels, she can excite the nostalgia of wartime, this one. What would you wager that that's why our resident human warrior likes her too? I chuckle. The sound makes Mr. S.'s eyes twitch my way. He catches sounds of us in his mind sometimes, whether we will it or not. He hasn't the sight, but he has the sound. Ha! Unlike that old Archangel Michael, the human girl continuously loses her vision of us. She sees us peripherally at best. It mainly happens when she studies some feature of his ex-wife, heavy-handed decor. Gone those 10 years. I catch her almost to start to open her inner eye just to squeeze it shut again. Oh, you collect precious moments figurines, she teases him. She stands by a curio cabinet in the living room. Mr. S had nothing to say about this. He's embarrassed. Suzanne's figurines in the living room still. Ha! He's killing his chances with this lady all by himself. But it turns out he likes being embarrassed if it's by her. Oh, let him sort out the human side of her, while I sort out the spiritual side, I think. All right, I begin to work the puzzle out in my mind. Who is she? Where are my clues? First, I get the sense that this ignorant human has always kept her nose out of demon business. She doesn't feel the imps have started to play with her hair in adoration, for example. Maybe she is one of those people who refuse to take a stance, even to herself, on the occult. The pair arrive at the threshold of the master bedroom. My puzzling halts. Mr. S steps inside. He stands at the foot of his bed, wringing his hands. His eyes pierce the guest as he coaxes her forward. She takes one step, then stiffly stations inside the doorframe, not a step further. It's so cold in there, she murmurs. Well done, Sergeant, I think dryly. Can you see him? Is she humoring Mr. S by looking around, or is she really searching? Then it happens. She opens her inner eye. she spots the huddled ghost girl who weeps in the corner of his chamber. June is a part of the master. She was expelled from the fabric of his soul. She looks like her own being, but a few ropes, umbilical tentacles sprouting from her back, still connect them. She is a decoy. Master sets her crying to draw the magical sorts like the guest in too close. June gets people to open up their hearts. Then, when their guard is down, he strikes. Yet more viciously, sometimes Master gets invaders to attack her instead of him. I've seen it happen. To pull the trick off, the Master had to make the June part of himself an almost real, full-second demon. She is separate enough from him that the Master enjoys causing her pain and exposing her to it. The waif has known great violence at the hands of both him and the exorcists in here. The lifelines the Master keep her alive through it all. Master plays with her pain, but I think he also has a fondness for June in his own strange way. He made her pretty, after all. Do demons have affection for themselves? The human's conversation pulls me out of my pondering. There's a girl weeping in the corner, the woman says, moved. Don't trust her, Mr. S barks. The guest jumps and looks at him, wounded. That's just a decoy. She follows instructions and stays put, but she is not tinged with fear at all. I shudder. The woman should be terrified. An analytical thought pops into my mind. Lack of fear is common in exorcists, but missing desire to fight or bottle a sighted demon, that is uncommon in exorcists. Girlish as she is, June doesn't pass for human. I became perplexed. The house guest saw the child of the Master, yet no shred of impetus to dominate bloomed in her soul, nor flee. Heart-wrenching as June is, she makes the blood run cold. So I've heard prior visitors say. Keep looking, Mr. S said softly. The house guest reaches out psychological feelers. Her fevered eyes dance slowly, carefully around the bedroom. It is so coated in dust that the colors have disintegrated. She has seen one of us herself now. She is rethinking everything fast. I'm sure perhaps she is wondering how many of us she missed along the way. I wish one of the mind-reading demons was near at hand. I wonder if, when she sees me at last, will her face have the same expressions as Kiket's did? When Kiket first saw me, a flash in her eyes, a lack of fleer, an inexplicable personal recognition behind the surprise. Do such reactions between souls ever happen twice in a lifetime? The guest pauses on a dark splotch on the wall behind the cowering June. Bigger, Mr. S says, like a madman giving a clue. His guest closes herself off to him a little more. She scans the room once again. There's a darkness in the corner behind the girl. She says aloud, coming back to the stain. On the walls. Bigger, Mr. S repeats ominously. He's not just in the corner. She wrinkles her brow. She cocks her head. Her spirit world self squints, and her eyes flick up to the ceiling and back. Bigger? She asks. Yes, much bigger than that. There is a long silence. The Master holds deathly still. It's like he's holding in a horrid laugh. Oh my God, she says. She is starting to look all around the room now. The ceiling, the walls, the floor. Oh my God. It is shock in her voice. But still, neither fear nor fury. Yes, Mr. S says. He is smug that she finally sees the Master, but afraid. Master is a darkness, a phantasm, a floating, stinking ink of a bloated body. He can spread himself through the house at will or contrast to his favorite corner. He can sit there like a dark storm or move with the alacrity of a thunderclap. He sits heavy. He commands us. Many nights has Mr. S., the only human in the house, laid awake in his bed, staring petrified at what he can feel and hear but cannot see. Yet, addled loon that Mr. S. is, he refuses to leave the house or even sleep in a different room. The goon is a fighter whom I suppose one can admire for his stubbornness. I reflect now on the quivering man. The sergeant is an invader, waging a guerrilla war on the enemy's turf. He can never win, yet he never quits. Master terrifies him. The natural instinct of what most of us perceive him is to serve and cower, to bond themselves to him or go mad. I, Svelik, am probably one of the few who can hold his own so near the master. Mr. S. is another, but unlike me, Mr. S. is not bound to him. When I peer into the sergeant's heart, I see a regal bind to a contempt instead. It protects him from other bonds. Our best mind reader, Lyman, investigated it once for me. The only word I've ever gotten on it was and is the Constitution. Mr. S. is probably crazy, but take me for a fool if that pre-existing bind does not protect him. Oh, I cannot hide it any more. I must confess to you. I must drop all pretense, and I like to think that I stay at Travail Street because of my fondness for the younger demons. And furthermore, because I was here first. The others need someone to look after them. So goes my line, but it is only part of the truth. The master and I first met in the corner of Eden, a place that no longer exists. My dislike began even then. The first time we met, I was lying on my belly in a field. I was lost in the rhapsody of studying a blade of grass. Then his fingers appeared, broke it off at the stem, and turned it to ash before my very nose. This is the sort of nonsense that never stopped. I sometimes blame myself for what happened in the garden. When I took an interest in the humans, it inspired him to ruin them too. After the Great Fall, we went our separate ways. A tremendous human civilization sprang up. I had so much fun living in it that I began hoping that civilizations, wherever they appeared, would pop up, like they were stops on a train line, traveling from one to the next as the centuries rolled by. Right when the British Empire lost its appeal to me, a new empire was born. It often works this way. So I came to America. By then, I had forgotten that he even existed. He must have known. One day, at the then newly constructed house we stand in now, I felt a spirit at my door. A premonition prickled. It felt much like it did today, when this mademoiselle approached. But that day, I forgot wisdom. There is something that I should not forget again. The consequences of that day. I failed to heed premonitions, or why I regard this shiner with suspicion even now. Recognition can happen between long-separated enemies as they likely happen between long-separated lovers. This déjà vu, this feeling that you know a stranger well, could be because that they were once your family, but it could also be because they murdered you in a past life. My pricklings that day made me curious, not cautious. I looked outside my window. The figure there appeared like a smog. Time had changed my foe, and he was out of context too, and so I did not recognize him. I made a mistake. I opened the door. That was the autumn of 2003. The old blackguard from Eden's heyday took me by surprise. To my shame, he had me chained to the house. I had been haunting it before, but now I am its prisoner. I can no longer remember his God-given name. It matters not, because now I must call him the Master. So there is the Master, there is us, his horde, and there is Mr. S., his unyielding, unchanged, but undone every day and night. He often falls asleep drunk in his bed, numb to the effects of staring down an invisible master. "Let's move back into the garage and discuss," says Mr. S. Yes. They walk out and away. Master's incorporeal mass ripples. I shudder again before I turn him away and follow them. He felt her power too. Now the pretty guest peers everywhere with eyes that see. An infestation. I remember a previous exorcist calling it. He compared us to cockroaches crawling about. This woman radiates her focus out and catches the sight of me. We lock eyes. A flash in the eye, a lack of fear, an inexplicable personal recognition behind the surprise. It was just so. My hand flies to my heart, yet she quickly looks onward. She also sees Thom, a bearded ghost of a pioneer settler, but somehow she remains completely unaware that nitwit Zim, who is now twined up in her leg like a vine on a tree. Zim lacks a certain dignity that I value, but he is not alone in his desire to get closer to this creature. We all feel it. Apparently, even the master. I get Lyman's attention, the mind reader. For some reason he possesses the rotten leaves in the corner of our unswept kitchen. He has a moldy gap for a mouth and spores for eyes. I believe he is a corrupted land wight. A healthy one would be with its forest or in the land near it, not zombified leaves that can blow here or there. I gesture for him to follow the sergeant and the lady with me back to the garage. The human's noses twitch because of Lyman's movements, waft rot into the air. He ambly amplifies her thoughts and translates for us as we walk. She thinks that Mr. S doesn't mean us any harm. His voice is like the squelch of feet on a damp forest path. She is saying all kinds of nonsense like that to herself. My, I murmur, straightening my tie. She definitely does not mean any harm to us. Even the master, I whisper. Oh, she despises him. A demon dangling from the ceiling interrupts. Melvin. He swings from several gooey limbs. The exorcist does not want to kick us out? He is the size of a hamster, but looks like an amoeba. I'm not sure there is a name for the kind of spirit he is. No, Lyman the mind reader contemplates aloud. His voice is a sound like dried twigs tread upon. She has no training in anything about us, let alone litimancy. Litimancy is the witchcraft that humans use to investigate, control, interrogate, banish, and generally harass us. Really? Melvin asks. Well, Lyman rattles, I can tell you that she is not thinking about any lessons. Anyway, she ought to be. And yet she can tune in now. We have almost reached the door back to the garage. An instinct kicked on in her, I explained sourly. I recall a wizard from long ago, even then Hashput's reign in Egypt, when Kiket lived. This wizard was a boy in the north. He came with the first band of people to arrive in North America. His offspring's countrymen would call him a Native American of some kind now. If I ever am freed of this house, perhaps I will visit his progeny out east. Blighter though their grandsire was, I'm fond of his people. Very interesting culture. Anyhow, according to Lyman, this woman here recalls only kind little religious teachings from her childhood. So she recalls witchy tips from recent acquaintances. I chuckle at the term. No way. It simply does not add up. How does someone as eminent as this lady not get picked up by a real teacher? As the jaded old crust that I am, a theory forms in my mind. The mademoiselle is a ruse from the enemy, and I don't mean the master. The Holy Spirit, the Tao, goddess, sky father, that consciousness of many names. The guest here is a warrior so trained and so young that she can appear foolish and almost fool an ancient one like me. Svelik, ha! After all that I've seen, but shadows hold true. I know deep down that she isn't a ruse. At some point in the wake of those recoils of 1,000,000,000,000 humans, and though we are born as innocently as any other creature, with nothing but curiosity about your race. Most demons become hunters and haunters. Many others just exist and let exist. That is my Svelik's way in these later ages. But even detached ones like me still get a bit affected when a powerful human sees you and doesn't lash out, doesn't turn away, when one as magnificent as her doesn't strike you, when you see a lioness, a sun goddess, a wild human prowling peacefully, looking back at you. Creatures like her take you to a time long ago when Eden was our home as much as her great-grandmother's, when demons were young and humans were a wonder, one we still thought kind and good. This one, she keeps her spiritual hands to herself until you are practically begging for her to touch you. I feel violated, but she hasn't done a thing. Faugh! Mr. S has no respect for us. He brings in volunteer and professional exorcists often, and I believe that this person in our home purely because she wants to help him. Why this woman wants to help him, I do not know. So she has no sexual attraction to him that I can see. She voiced her distaste for his house plainly enough. She's repelled as well by the stench of Mr. S.'s cigarettes, says Lyman. But you do see a do-gooders from time to time. Well now, what help did Mr. S. ask of her, of this untrained thing? They are leaving, and she has done nothing. We're back in the garage with the motorbike. Have you ever seen such a terrible demon? Mr. S. asks her, shaking himself. Her voice level and her spirit tall, she answers him. He's not the worst one I've seen. Mr. S.'s go wide. What? She names a human they both know, or should I say, knew. A man who died a few months ago. I remember hearing about it. Mr. S. got particularly drunk that night, raising one to another lost brother. Oh, that poor, poor man I never knew, he says in awe. Lyman whispers darkly to me, the lost brother was not a good man. His voice is like a cold wind stirring over ice. I knew Lyman. He is implying that the man was cruel. I wave at the white to be silent. The humans are still talking, I hiss. Mr. S. flinches, but does not look at my way at our sounds. Till now, the woman tells Mr. S., I never told anybody about my husband's demon. She looks on the edge of tears. Her memories strike her so fiercely that they fill my mind too. It does not matter that I am not a gifted mind reader like Lyman. The image of the deceased man is forced upon my mind. A tall man, uncut hair, scarred and tattooed, big eyes and apple cheeks above a square beard. Then those same eyes, those same cheeks, beardless now as a little boy lying in bed in the dark country home. The boy is petrified, paralyzed. A giant demon with beetle eyes hunches in the dark at the front of his bed. Spit on his fangs gleams back at the moonlight perverting it. The child cannot scream. Mr. Scratch, mouths the boy. No sound comes out. No adults come. The demon draws a claw out. The boy realizes his foot is exposed, poking out from under the quilt, but he cannot move. The one called Mr. Scratch down south draws his ragged hoof of a fingernail across the child's soft sole. He cuts so deep that it is sure to leave a scar, but no blood comes. The boy still cannot scream, cannot breathe, cannot move. You belong to me now. The dead man must have put his memories here, in our guest's head. He had confessed a childhood nightmare to his wife, now his widow. It was a magicked confession. That should be this clear. The possessed husband, the lost brother, the same man. This mutual acquaintance of theirs was the catalyst that brought Mr. S. and the blonde together. I understand how this visitation happened just a little bit better now. Slam! The thought pictures go away from behind a wall in her mind. They go somewhere inaccessible, even to her. Back to the place meant for things never to be witnessed. But not before I glimpse a whirlwind of pictures of the grown-up boy beating her and worse. So this is the story of how her husband became poisoned, is it? As she tells it to herself. In real time, her memory of the dead man and his tale took only the span of a breath. The woman speaks on to the ignorant Mr. S. He did not see the memories. My husband was very strong, the woman continues. He dealt with that demon a long time. That's why I don't think it is weak, what he did in the end. He lasted a long time. Did these two meet at his funeral? The smell of rot stirs once more and tugs the hem of my jacket. Strong, yes, moans Lyman. But there are leavings in her mind. Traces. She denies it. The boy-man did bad things. I don't answer. Mr. S. speaks. I never knew, he says. If he knew about the demon on his friend's back, now he does. Yet he may never know what his friend, not his demon, did behind closed doors. Why? Because the two of them ignore and deny the fetid smell from Lyman's truth. Perhaps they did not hear it. If Mr. S. could lay his hatred for us aside one moment, he might hear something, learn something important. Now that he believes the woman is about a worse demon, it's like Mr. S.'s respect for his lost brother has gone up. So what do you think? What should I do? Mr. S. asks, changing the subject. I think you should stop terrorizing your roommates. What? They aren't haunting you, Luke. You're antagonizing them. He can only stand there and think. You assume the worst of them and wave your guns at them and threaten them, she continues. You make the demons into your enemies. I am a little proud. I feel the same pride when one of the demons under my wing shows growth. Shadows hold me. Her presence is making me soft. They're reacting to your reaction towards them, the woman explains. I think you should try making peace with your demons. Change the dynamic. We are all stunned. A cloud comes back to Mr. S.'s face, and he repeats his first question. What is your greatest fear? Oh, what is he on about? She frowns at him. Why would I tell you? She's not bantering now. I would say it's death, he replies again, like a battering ram. Perhaps, she says. She grins like a Cheshire cat. I think your greatest fear is death because you seem to like life so much. Her Cheshire grin vanishes. She looks suddenly vulnerable, like he caught her as an imposter. Imps growl in his ears to punish him for upsetting her. Lyman supplies the answer he knows that I am curious for. She feels guilty for continuing life and liking it when the man-boy is dead. Mr. S. continues ruthlessly. I think you like life as you know it so much that you don't ever want it to end. We all look at her. Profundity of our mad sergeant's words makes the air stand still. That's true, she says at last. She looks so wounded it is as though he called her selfish or traitorous. Does she believe it is a crime to stay on Earth in a body after her spouse dies? Lyman begins to speak her thoughts for me, but I burlesquely tow him away with my polished shoe. Some thoughts are rightfully private. Mr. S's next words come sharp, self-pitying or tragic. Who can say? That's where you and I differ. I want to die, and they won't let me. The words hit her like a sledgehammer. Meanwhile, we, the demonry, stand guilty. Our silence hums. Even Zim stops his undiluting underfoot. You must know the truth. Mr. S has tried to kill himself many nights since his wife left. Even before she left, he would try sometimes, to be perfectly frank. It began after his return from his final tour of war. Not right away. It was some months earlier. He fought in a place his countrymen call the Middle East, and his boys call the Sandbox. It's not far from my old stomping grounds with the Egyptian priestess. Mr. S's involvement in the war ended long ago, but the conflicts are infinite. They loop in his mind. Lyman tells me so. His sandbox memories are like horses on a carousel, and he cannot get off the ride. Mr. S's body ages, but his mind, with it his life, stays in his age of war. In short, the past belongs to us. When a human mind is there, it is on our turf. It is fun to toy with humans when they stray onto our land. So when Mr. S tries to die and escape the carousel, we do not let him. Yes, I am guilty of preserving him as a toy. We all are. That has been his aim, getting rid of us. Not so he can live, but so he can die at last. My reveries are again interrupted. I never thought, the human man says, slowly, that I could actually make peace with my demons. She smiles at him so kindly and squeezes his leather-clad shoulder. My mind reels. If she simply had exercised us all, as she possibly is capable of doing, this shiner, Mr. S finally could have killed himself. She, the widow that suicide made, a second loss for her, she doesn't realize. My guilt roils with it. I must ground myself. I must think up a different aspect of the situation. She intimately knew a man that took his life after losing a battle with a separate master demon, with some other slave horde. Yes, think about that. Think about that, I command myself. How I wish the master had not enslaved us. Why can't we be individuals again, making mischief, but also marry as we please? I long to be a clan, a tribe, a family, housemates, anything other than a slave horde. The humans fire up the motorcycle and roll away, right over a piece of rubble. The guardian bell breaks away. It tumbles to the pavement with the sound on my ears like screams and glass shattering. They don't even notice. How can you humans stand bells? How can you even exist inside those dreadful reverberations? When they leave, I rush back upstairs to see what the kith are saying. I can hardly believe all I see in the bedroom. First of all, Master's imp clan, Jim Jim, and his lot on leashes are much calmer than usual. The sorry dears live and sleep in the corner between Mr. S's bed and the Master. Who would not live in constant agitation in such a crossfire position? Yet, there they are, in their spot, their smooth bodies glowing. They do not crackle like the distressed electricity in a normal way. They hum. It's a gentle sound. The woman's mere presence in the room soothes them. I gaze at them. For the first time in my years of living here, I, Svelik, can imagine, not believe in, mind you, but imagine, as an actual potential future, what the imps would be like if they had their free will back. Over in the corner, June's eyes are up. Yes, her, that ostracized piece of all that was gentle in him. She who cast out, used as a decoy and abused. Granted, she still hunches, hugging her thin arms. Her stringy black hair is unkempt as always. This is despite the hairbrushes the imps leave at her feet from around the house. But her eyes are up. She is looking around, just one little bit, more outside herself than she is ordinarily capable of. She's watching her father. He is in oil form. Master often reclines thusly. When he is this way, humans can tune in and see him as an oil stain spread across the walls and the ceiling. He has expanded over himself all over the walls of the dusty, ex-wife pink bedroom. Some of his rivers flow out into the hallway floor. He's boiling over in a shiny black, more void than usual. Is he outraged? Or is he that... Could it possibly be... Is Master excited? I'm repelled to my core. He is not afraid of the guest. He's thinking about what a fantastic slave she would be. Evil old blackguard bully of a behemoth. He understands that his departed guest in the same way that I do, but he wants to ruin her. We need free shiners in this world, and he wants to cage her. He wants to run a zoo. I want a nature reserve. It's always been this way between us, hasn't it? Animals need to be free, however deadly. Of course the Master doesn't see it like that. Her sweet medicine reaches his malicious self too, the medicine of a fine human seeing him. Not recoiling and not attacking, but he is taking it wrong. I remember my grass blade growing, and how he turned it to ash before my eyes. I have shuddered far too much today. Though I don't like to take sides, when pressed, I stand by my kind. But my morals cannot silence the fierce voice of hate in the pit of my being. Archangel Michael of old should come back to earth once again. He should find this girl and train her up, just to spite Master. Spinning, spinning, my hate is spinning now. What if I return to Egypt? I could bring the dead priestess back to life, compel them, bind them to my will, have them cast protective charms on the other houses on the block. I know the Master plans to expand, and I could see Kiket again. I miss her so much, it closes my throat. Oh, what madness! Shame on me. The guest made me uncomfortably aware of myself, of how many humans like Mr. S. I have mistreated. She made me aware of my bitter attitude towards humans, and yet, immediately after meeting her, here I am thinking of raising the dead to bind them to me, and some of my old favorites, no less. She returned me to my lost childhood days. She showed me myself to myself. So then, what has Master seen of himself? In that mirror of the luminous human, a radiant heart, him so much, much more fallen than I. Enslave her! Ah! I drift quietly, urgently away. As I go back down the hall, all that I have seen today storms in my mind. Spirits calmed, June self-possessed, Master excited. What will this mean for us? What does it mean, period? Who was that woman? Svelik! Cherry the Shade calls to me from the fireplace. I snap out of my reverie. Yes, Miss Cherry? Herblet attached to her. What? Demons don't come back off after attaching. If my son figure Herblet survived attaching to such one as her, surviving is the best I can hope for. I doubt he could. If he did survive somehow, it would be the only comfort I could have. I sniff. Based on her repugnance of cigarette smell here alone, I do not expect the Mademoiselle back, Herblet in tow or otherwise. Well, he isn't attached to her, Cherry drawls out, reclining on the logs of the flame. Of course not! I, Svelik burst out, pretending I am ignorant of such a preposterous claim. I am fond of Herblet, the little blighter. We are a tight-knit family here at 1902 Travail Street. But truly, it would have surprised me to find out anyone could attach to the likes of that woman. You can see that her soul is slippery to the touch. It's like a hurricane roves over her surface. She has the light. Even if it is dim, and she does not fuel it well, and no archangel, wizard, or priestess ever came to coach her, she is one of those humans who have the light. It is blinding work, to say the least, to try to attach to a shiner. I understand it is like humans and the sun. The sun blinds you. You cannot very well touch it, even if it stood right by you. You cannot very well touch a shiner either. But Erblet is trailing her, continues Cherry. He was saying, I'm going to attach to her on his way out the door. I say nothing, and feel heavy. Yes, demons feel. I move on to the front door and begin to watch, to wait. That's when Master, a liquid black bullet, rushes past me like a river. There's a thunderclap. His speed is rippled through the physical world's air. He goes through and under and around the door, out of the house, after the motorcycle, and the man and the guest. After my tiny, stupid, claw-clacking herblet, the ether stuff I'm made out of almost puffs into wisps. I am so aghast. My hands leap to my throat, and there clinch the knot of my tie. As the Master's wake settles, a stillness, an emptiness, a freshness reigns. The house has not been emptied of Master in too long, but he is after her. She clenched her knees on the motorcycle below and the sergeant in front. The engine yawned into its bass note roar. The smell of hot exhaust rose into her nose on the chilled night air. What sweet relief. She was escaping his strange house, breaking out of its cobwebbed energies. She was getting home. Ready? Her date called. She squeezed his shoulders. Yep. And they began to roll. With a hard bump over some debris and the dark road, they were away. Relief melted through her. It freed her mind. Being in that house took energy. Guarding against the man in front of her, exclamating everything visible and invisible contained in those walls. Stealing at the sight of demons. It was a sense she had always had but repressed. Her eyes saw the natural world, but her mind sometimes superimposed the immaterial details. Sometimes she saw entire phantom scenes in a place. When she saw a little weeping girl today, it shook her, but not too badly. She figured that someone had suffered much in that room, a sort of hologram of the memory that lingered on in a spot that they used to cry, she figured. Holograms, like that could be felt or pictured by any old newcomer, she always assumed. It was not new to her. Remnants of people's bad times, and good, of people themselves were all over. But then she saw a demon. The ink monster. What a silly name for something that horrific. But there, it had come into her mind. Something, an entity, a person? What could you call a thing like that? But the Master. But a demon. The cool breeze of motion and the feeling of power nearby, the motor took its positive effect on her. It always did. Motorcycles, engines, vehicles moving fast, big machines. These things always made her feel right, happy, cozy. The power of speed elated her. So the need after the suffocating tension in that house. "Arroo!" she cried like a wolf just for fun. The sergeant twisted behind to sneak a glance at her and grinned. "Wolf girl?" Giddiness swelled up in her heart. "Yeah!" She smiled and howled again. Free, free, free. He revved the motorcycle and took them speeding. She yipped with delight. She squeezed his shoulders and laughed for joy and made wild wolf howls a little bit more, tossing her head back. The moon was full. She let her braid fly back. When she caught sight of Mr. S.'s craggy face and their side view mirror, he was smiling. Maybe he wasn't the one for her, but seeing a man enjoy himself who clearly usually didn't, that made her feel even more fulfilled with life. Something felt suddenly wrong. It was already night, but it got darker still. There came a nagging sense she ought to look behind her and down. Had she caught something out of the corner of her eye? All was dazzling and dark. Raindrops reflected pale lamplight on their way down as they splattered into a sheen on the asphalt. It was hard to see what she thought she saw. something like a mouse running after them. Or is that the crust of a tumbleweed blowing in the wind on their tail? But that was just it. Mice can't run at the speed of a motorcycle, and tumbleweeds don't roll into the wind. She twisted back harder. Her eyes wrinkled and peered. The little demon from the house was racing along behind. A tiny shock jolted her spine, and she involuntarily leaned forward in her seat. Many strange hopes twist me, ancient old Svellick up. May she burn master to a crisp. Could she, with raw talent, without training? But not Erblet. Please, not Erblet. Do not get burned up to a crisp in the crossfire. No, see something of what's behind her. And shine before you quit and report it back to us. Please, Erblet, turn around. Do not even try to see more deeply into her. Just come back home. May master perish. Dread of what master might do to her. Untrained wench, wild human, I picture her as a slave to him. Is this how humans feel when a predator is put in captivity then shot? He will destroy her. Their battle will be epic, and it will kill her, either her sweet nature or life itself. She is untrained. An hour later, Erblet comes home. He comes dragging himself up the road, his hair and his hands visibly burnt. He will look that way for the rest of eternity. I know the burns of angel fire when I see them. I usher him inside through a crack in the window. "Svellick," he cries to me. "I was running after the motorcycle." He confesses everything to his papa in a rush. "I wanted to see where she lived. I was going to attach while she slept. I'm sorry, Svellick. I didn't mean to leave you. You were like a big brother to me, but more like a great-grandsire. I saw what she was like, I say with forced empathy." I cannot keep condescension from my voice. Eventually, a demon has to learn to leave shiners alone. Erblet displayed a disgraceful lack of dignity by even trying. I pretend not to be curious about where she lives myself. "But," he continues, "the lady noticed me before I found out where she lived. You know, well, we were still on the road." I gasped. Any psychic witch, exorcist, or shiner instinctively decimates a demon once seen. The fact Erblet was alive, it means that she had not destroyed even a stalking spirit. Erblet had aggressed her, he followed her, and got caught. How does he escape so barely scathed? First, she didn't attack June nor any of us, once her inner eye opened, and now she did not even wipe out a teensy stalking demon. He wrings his little talons like mad, nursing his burns. When she noticed me, she just turned around on the motorcycle and said, "Goodbye, I had to." I'm stunned. It was a dismissal. Yes, I had to respect it, but it takes a moment to process this. She was not unkind. But then I realize I didn't have to, says Erblet to the returned. It didn't make sense. You heard it. The bell fell off, so there was no barrier, but then there was one again. I was still moving forward, chasing her. My attachment maneuver was still building. He glances at me uncomfortably, having just outed his own lie about planning to wait to try till she was asleep. But he gets swept up, reliving his skill in action. Then, right behind me, I didn't realize he had followed me. I breathed 2 words. The Master. What to do about this tiny ill-wisher, she wondered. The demon following them was an innocent imp with eager eyes. He looked like a 6-year-old boy in a miniature, but one with too wide a mouth filled with tiny shark teeth and claws instead of fingers. She felt power stir in her. When she was a little girl, she had been taught about the Holy Spirit and thought that people were talking about the consciousness she felt around her, about the way the palpable care and intention inside the middle of everything. Somewhere along the way, she had lost her sense of it, though. She had lost her faith, too. Here and now, something like it flickered back. On the motorcycle, in the rain, gripping the sergeant with 2 hands, twisting back at this creature, It was more than a memory. Like ears hear a sound, like eyes see a sight, something inside of her witnessed that holy spirit of her childhood blossom. It was like a sunflower in a snowfield, something out of place, something wondrous, something impossible yet undeniable. Who knows what it was, or is, except that it was a power. She even had a cognizant thought on how to wield it. I could vanquish this imp. She knew it to be true. She could fling him in smithereens into kingdom come. But no, that was not what she wanted to be. And besides, doing that will blow your cover, came a wild thought. To be unkind would ruin my protection. To be unkind would be to disintegrate my armor. These were odd thoughts, but she knew that they were true. Who knew what in a demon world was around her right now, and what all might hear and appear when spiritual guns went bang in the night? What to do, though? Horror movie scenes flashed like a projection reel in her mind. In one old flick, a character called Father Damien Crassus would say special words. The power of Christ compels thee. But she didn't believe in Christ. Funny how these things you learned in childhood come back to you. Movies you've seen too, nevertheless, words. What did she believe in if not words? One simple one would do here. Goodbye. She waved a hand away at the demon boy racing for her. Goodbye, goodbye. She said it 3 times. Her words moved matter. Next thing, the imp smacked against a force field. The 3 goodbyes, imbued with will and power, were a spirit world resonating order on him. They looked already to be a sight more effective than a people world paper one. A dismissal, she called it. Maybe she had worked a spell. The look on the imp's face sent a shiver down her spine. It wasn't right. He seemed confused. He looked over his tiny shoulder. She jerked her eyes up to peer behind him. Pitch blackness hung there. Nothing to fix her eyes on. Not even lamplights glowed in the spread. No shiny raindrop sheets glimmered in their race to the ground. Not even the stars. Not even the stars. Oh my God. She felt an evil in the darkness. It scanned the streets for her, yet the master could not see her. He had come fast to come this far, but hung stationary above the houses. He searched for the prey that had disappeared. It seemed that this dismissal force field meant for the little one kept the ink monster above from seeing them. He began to move again, and in the right direction. Did he follow the sound of his housemate's motorcycle now? Luke, she called firmly to the man at the handlebars. Yeah, he shouted back. The bedroom demon is following you, she bellowed. Not June. Get us out of here. He nodded his head once again and didn't let up from the rocketing throttle. Impressive. Then again, he had been facing off with this villain a long, long time. The imp still ran after her, just unable to close the distance. Somehow, she just knew that his intention had been to attach onto her and follow her through the world. Maybe now he wanted inside the force field to escape from the master's sight. She had a strange realization. The joy she had felt moments ago hadn't left. She still felt that she could howl at the moon, even while the master blocked it from sight. She could giggle with freedom and speed in the wind. Maybe joy was her armor. Now she knew that who was behind them. Her eyes had no trouble fixing onto the darkness itself. Evil couldn't hide. Oh, she could see him now. She hated him. A righteous hate. Maybe the woman had simply learned to recognize evil by this point in her life. Or maybe, old ink monster there, spewing his intention to cage and torment, to use, to hurt, to never die. Maybe he was just a stand-in tonight for a different set of demons she had to run away from. Who cared? Rarely in her confused life did she know without a doubt what must be done, but she still knew how to act when conviction did strike. Take a tight turn, hard, Luke, she called, needing a clear shot. Blowing her cover, be damned. She didn't need to look in the mirror to know if her driver's smile had cracked wider. He executed the maneuver. They were so low to the ground. She felt mist kick up, onto her from the asphalt. The turn put them perpendicular to the master, a clear shot, but she didn't have long. She raised her hands from the sergeant's shoulders, squeezing her legs with all her might. Mr. S.'s blue eyes flicked back at her through the side view mirror. He saw that she hadn't flown off or been struck and was satisfied. She twisted the saddle towards the unseeing storm, tracked them by the sound of their ride. The master had no idea what was coming. To be fair, she didn't either. She raised her hands higher, palms out. The call of the moment brought more to her life than she had ever felt. It had happened before Mr. S. pulled out of the turn. It was like every cell in her body vibrated, radiated an energy, then infused it back into her. She felt part of something great. The energies in her body beaded together. They gathered into streams and flowed around her. Then, like many streams feeding a river, the energy worked its way into her fingertips. She released the floodgates. When she struck, flames bloomed. They positively filled the street. Green trees and white houses, formerly in the darkness, lit up orange, but did not burn. The flames ballooned into spaces between and above the avenue, yet nothing physical caught fire. Her attack charged the dark pursuer. He leaped higher, shrieking. Folk speak of an inner eye, but there must also be an inner ear, she thought, at the sound of the fire roaring, and would have laughed. But she was attending to the business of utterly incinerating the chief of demons. The light of the fire caught a hold of the master. He was massive, but no, now the terror light of her firebomb revealed him to be so much glamour. He was nothing inside. He had no true face, not even any bones. Anything like the original nature had long since rotted away. "Ha ha!" the sergeant barked as he witnessed her in action. He had heard the roar of the fire and the master's shriek, though to him the world still remained dark. He revved the engine twice, lightly to show his amusement. Still he sped them along expertly, never slowing, never missing a beat. She could swear his nervous heart racing must actually be slower now that they were in a death race. The flames jetted from her soul, or from whatever this power present in her was, turned evil misema into steam. The cruel demon from the dawn of time began to melt, to wither. Now the fire filling the cavernous boulevard sucked down into him. The flames on their target became an inferno. It was dense as lava in the heart of hell. Events unspooled so fast. The master twisted on himself like a ribbon being twirled in the opposite ways at both ends. His death was like seeing a strand of paper burned up in fast motion. And then he blew away into the night breeze as white ash. A demon's death. The final licking tongues extinguished. Or her vision stopped working. Or both. No, it was just the flames that had ended, not her sight. Because there, in a wet pool of lamplight down the street, growing smaller by the nanosecond at their high speed, stood a dazed little imp boy. The flames had leapt over him en route to their true target. Still he was worse for wear. All his little shark teeth were evident in the circle of a slack mouth. When he caught her looking, he waved goodbye, his eyes wider with wonder. She smiled. The couple on the motorcycle aggressively turned into another corner away from the carnage, and that was the last house guest ever saw of the little one. Herblet splutters. I grab him. I shake him firmly. I demand of him, "What happened to the master?" She. I keep my grip on his collar firm, but stop shaking him. "She thought about attacking me, Monsieur Svelik," he gasps. But the last thing I heard her thinking was, I cannot be unkind to him. To be unkind would to ruin my protection. But something about her armor. I thought she was thinking about me." "Her armor? But she wasn't trained, I know. Lyman told me. That's why I thought I could attach, but..." "Spit it out, lad." "She turned around and it didn't affect me. I could still see her. I mean, there was that force field, but I could see..." Yes, well then, where did the dismissal go? I press. Erblet falls silent. His report is too huge to utter. She attacked, I offer. He bursts out, Fire! Fire everywhere! My God, the master, I breathe. Is he still with us? My grip loosens on the lad's shirt, but I am too dumbstruck to let go fully. He doesn't seem to mind for the moment. It was terrible to behold, Monsieur Svelik. Just then, motion catches the corner of my eye. The imps! They are giggling, piling themselves out of the mouse hole and into the corner. They are escaping into the front yard. Some are already halfway down the block. They've been unbound, their leashes trailing loose. She dismissed the master, I hiss. Well, not dismissed, more like... Then, more motion in my periphery. I whip my head around and look at the staircase. My jaw drops. Erblet twists to look to where I look, and now we are both dumbstruck. We are like groomsmen at a wedding during an appearance of the bride, for June is stepping down, tentatively, stair by stair. Her gown unfurls around her, a thing of velvet and deepest blue. I've never noticed before, but then she has never been in that color before. Someone brushed and braided her hair. It was wound around her temple like a crown. It must have been the imps doing, their last service in the house. The umbilical tentacles trail out her back and down the stairs behind her like a train of a wedding gown. They bleed black and ether blood. June is cut free of the master. Is the master, I murmur at Erblet out of the side of my mouth. The master won't be coming back, Monsieur Svelik, he breathes back. Did the guest cut June free before killing? It's clear she did. I don't know why I ask it. We hush in silence. We watch June grace the stairs, stepping ever closer down to us. She alights at last at the foot, a graceful hand on the banister, now at our level. She looks into my eyes. The brows shoot up. She, the newest shade on earth, has silver eyes. Perhaps she always did. They are set in an ink-color face like her father's. She smiles at me. It is like the starry night twinkling my way. I tore myself free, June says. Well, when the window felt me pulling, she held the destruction still and let me tear free. I am born. I glance at Erblet. Oh, that lad, he reminds me of a drooling human. My judgment recoils back to my station as an elderly spirit. I snap my jacket and myself with it back into a comfortable, familiar place of dignity. Where shall we go? Erblet asks me. I realize a thing. Easily awed Erblet is the lone demon survivor of the battle between Master and the one I know only as Mr. S's house guest. And I realize I am now the authority at 1902 Travail Street. The profound emptiness of the house reverberates all over me. No, the openness. Only we three of the house's demonry remain. I look around, but I needn't. I can feel the truth. The infestation, every other member of what I had deluded myself into thinking was a tightly knit family, has fled. There is not a single dead leaf on the floor. There is not a gin undulating as mist and mischief, no imps. Freedom swells like the sound of a marching trumpet. At 1902 Travail Street is liberated. Do you two wish to stay here, I ask? Yes, I would like that, says dear Erblet. The starlight shade nods at me too. Then come, I say, and usher them into the living room. Word is going to spread through the town and all over the world soon, and it will be big news that a shiner is walking without a master. She has blown the cover, and she did not even know that she had it. As for Mr. S., he felt 25 years old again. No, 16 years old. He kept shaking his head at the dawn wind. He cruised his motorcycle within the speed limits for once. Moving slow was something he hadn't done in years. He had learned to move fast somewhere along the way. His gut instinct had been right. That woman was different, the proper warrior for his war. When she stood inside her door and the low lights inside her home haloed her, he asked her a question. "When can I see you again?" She evaded the question. That was a bad sign. But no worry, Lukey, he told himself. He would just keep working on it. Mr. S. now rumbled up to his house, 1902 Travail Street. A memory whipped through his mind the day he first walked through it. He recalled the feeling of demons and the sixth sense of them here. And there that made him jump. Little noises. He revealed the decision to go along with Suzanne's wishes to buy it. Why? Because back then he was resigned to forever live in a world of darkness. He had not truly wanted to stop living in conflict yet. The horizon cracked open. Dawn's light filled the block and covered his house. A clearness radiated to him from inside his own home. When he got there, what would he do? Would he retire to his bed and sleep at ease there for the first time? Or would he lay awake thinking as always, but this time, as he grinned, a triumphant king of the castle at last? He stepped inside. "Oh, you're still here," he said. Though he could not see any demon, and never had been able to, he felt a very familiar, neutral one in his way. A mirage shimmered for a second in the spot where he felt the presence. This had never happened before. For a second, he thought he saw an impossibly weazened and narrow demon, one wearing a pharaoh costume, eyeliner, and a suit. The mirage blinked out. "Do you want to show yourself to me?" Mr. S. gasped with a laugh. They had kept invisible all these years, trying to make him doubt his sanity. "I've never properly introduced myself," the demon's voice said stiffly. "I am sorry for the snub. My name is Svellik." The voice was half in Mr. S.'s mind as usual, but for this time half perceptible in his natural ears. Old Svellik must be trying hard to be forthright. "Whoever you are," Mr. S. said, "and whoever you are," he continued, turning to another, smaller bystander he could feel at his feet, "and even you," his blazing eyes turned finally to the general area of the stairs, "if the wolf lady let you stay behind, you must be all right." The three demons relaxed with relief. The old man replied crisply for them all, with his clear of his throat. "It would be my pleasure to suggest a peace between us." Genuine smiles were coming so easy now to Mr. S. What a magical woman. "It's a deal," was all he said. A peace accord. That's what she had recommended after all. Besides, Luke was ready for new battles, new problems, progress, excitement, and new dawns. "How many of you are left here?" he asked. Svellik's voice crackled. It ended up in an audible way that only Mr. S.'s mind could understand. "3, myself, Miss June on the stair, and young Herblet beside you." The veteran looked around at his house, around for the first time. He wasn't looking for the other two demons, though. He followed the morning light that filled the real spaces. It illuminated an incriminating dust. Why did Suzanne leave all this behind? The pink, so much pink. Precious moments, dolls. He stormed the curio cabinet. Svellik glazed at Mr. S. in curiosity as he watched the sergeant stomp to the cabinet, standing tall like never before. The ancient once realized yet another thing today. If those remaining at Travail Street were now free, his fantasy to be a strange family of some kind could be real. It could even be more eccentric than ever. It could even include a human. Mr. S. humphed, then cast down his gaze. He toed at the carpet. "I hope it won't be a problem," he muttered, "if I start changing this place immediately." A smile came across Mr. S.'s face again, when a little voice in his head, must be Herblet, piped up. "Well, we wouldn't mind at all." at the same time as the silvery girl's voice exclaimed, "Can we do bright white?" And the elderly voice said with relief, "Of course not. The pink has been ghastly."